Okay, man, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Now, come on, now crank this motherfucker up.
Break it down like this.
Hello, Internet. Gino here again with another episode of Deep Listens, and today we are going to command, we are going to conquer, and we are on Red Alert for the third time. That's right, we played Command & Conquer Red Alert 3, the one with Tim Curry in it, and joining me as always to discuss all things Soviet Russia, Pete Busby. How you doing?
Hey, I'm even more excited to talk about all things Tim Curry. He's in one of my favorite movies with multiple endings, Clue. Y'all ever seen the Clue movie?
I have. And its
When
endings.
When they released it in theaters originally, the plan was to have like one of those endings play. So you would have had to go to the theater to see Clue multiple times to see all the endings.
Honestly brilliant, and I'm surprised that other movie theaters or movie companies haven't tried that gimmick again.
Yeah, it's weird.
Did they not do that then?
No, I think they might have stuck with that. But when they released it, like if you watch it on Netflix or something, they just string them all together. And it's cool because all of the endings fit.
It's three different endings that are all completely viable.
Yeah.
To
but
my
not
knowledge,
the fun-
they did release all three, and you did have to see it multiple times. Good on them.
Not the fun fact for this week, though, despite it being a fact and fun. This week's fun fact is some Cold War nonsense. I made the rare decision to make one of them topical this time. So this comes from the Department of Defense's website, which paradoxically makes me believe it less. I don't believe a single thing the U.S. has to say about the Cold War. But this has to do with the hot dog stand that was at the center of the Pentagon at the time. So supposedly Russian, I guess, spy satellites would see high-level Pentagon officials going to and from this point in the center courtyard all day long. And they thought it was a bunker command center of some sort. Turns out it was a hot dog stand. But they devoted 2 ICBMs to targeting it. So they had multiple megatons of nuclear armament just to destroy a hot dog stand. Now, I'm skeptical for a couple of reasons. One, this has never been confirmed. It's not like Gorbachev came off and was like, yeah, man, that crazy hot dog stand. But also, maybe they were just trying to destroy the Pentagon or all of D.C., both of which a nuclear bomb would have been perfectly capable of doing.
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb and say the nuke that would have been targeted at the hot dog stand probably would have leveled most of D.C., too.
Yeah, whole city's gone.
Like whatever the middle is that you're aiming at, you don't need to just hit that. You're probably going to hit everything else.
Also, like, let's say hypothetically you just wanted to destroy the Pentagon, you would aim for the middle of it. You wouldn't aim like, we'll shoot a little to the left, see what happens.
Imagine the ghost of Gorbachev coming back and being like, oh man, that hot dog stand, you sure did get us.
That Reagan got us again. Greatest president in U.S. history.
That was a hot dog stand? Oh man. I kept talking to my guys about that. We were so sure it was the president in a hot dog suit. And we are also joined, as always, by the Mistress of Games, M. Palladino. How you doing, M?
Hello. I may be the mistress of games, but that does not cover real-time strategy games. Those are a completely different beast, and I do not claim ownership or fealty.
Yeah, fealty.
Yeah. Not my thing.
Entirely fair. I am someone who is very limited. I have very limited exposure to the genre, but this one had Tim Curry in it, and I wanted to see it, so I set it on easy, and then
played the meme game for the memes.
Yes.
Is it? Are RTSs still big in South Korea? Like, I know, like, League of Legends is huge.
StarCraft 2 still... No, StarCraft 1, Brood War, still is. There was a bit there where StarCraft 2 was popular, but then there was an expansion. I forget if they went back to StarCraft 2 base, and that's popular, or if they just went all the way back to Brood War. But yeah, for a while, StarCraft was like something you could watch on TV. Brood War.
Very punishing game. And I remember, so I was watching some Brood War content a while ago, and supposedly if you like screw up your button inputs, like the first 3 seconds of the game, you're just lost, and there's nothing you can do for the rest of it.
Yep, it snowballs. Snowball's real bad on you.
Miserable.
Know your hotkeys and never stop hitting them.
Can't do it. No, I don't want to. You
No, I
can't make me.
refuse.
I will discuss it later, but the hotkeys not being exactly the same as StarCraft really messed me up in this game. All right, before we discuss Command & Conquer Red Alert 3, our normal housekeeping, you can get in touch with the show at DeepListensPod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections, and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. That is our email address where you can send feedback and et cetera to the show. You can also support the show on Patreon at patreon.com/deeplistens, where you could put a game onto the slush pile for the Off the Deep Ends folks. We have already paid our debt by playing Sonic 06, but if we get 10 more subs, we will be forced to play Mass Effect Andromeda, which I assume is great because it says Mass Effect on it, and all the other 3 Mass Effects were great. So Andromeda's got to be good, right? That's why it's a donation incentive, because people want us to have a good time?
I still think the hate for Mass Effect Andromeda was completely overblown, but we can talk about that when it's time to talk about that.
That we can. So, yes, that if we get to 40 patrons, we will be playing Mass Effect Andromeda and joining the Off the Deep Ends crew in that endeavor, because Mass Effect, we have shared custody. They get partial ownership because of Andromedaness, but we've been playing the rest of the series.
Is Andromeda like just a celestial galaxy, right? It's a galaxy?
Yeah, it's a galaxy.
Is it just a
Yep.
galaxy? It doesn't mean anything else.
No, the
Like, is it a
premise...
Greek goddess?
Well, yeah.
Oh,
yes. There is a
Okay.
Andromeda. I'll tell
I'm
you
remembering
later.
that right. Perfect.
Okay.
I like this real-time fact-checking.
No pop quizzes. Please.
She was a beautiful daughter of King Cepheus and wife of Perseus.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
there you go.
Oh, so she was the one they tried to... Were they feeding her to the Minotaur or tying her up for Charybdis or whatever sea serpent?
There was a sea monster involved.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yes.
Nothing good happened. Let's just be clear about that. She didn't have a great time. Just like we won't if you support the show and make us play Mass Effect Andromeda. And also, if you were to support the show, you would also get access to our Discord, which might put you on the Discord report.
The Discord report. Boop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop. This week on the Discord report, I don't know. People are talking about stuff. I haven't been keeping up as much as I should be.
There's been an unsettling amount of Mega Man talk going on.
Yeah.
Mega Man talk.
People are playing the old Mega Mans, like Mega Man
For the
2.
Game Boy.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of Game Boy discussion. So, yeah, I don't know if y'all listen to the Off the Deep End content, but they slipped me...
Absolutely not.
They slipped me a podcast that I was not prepared for. It said Final Fantasy on it, and I was like, that can't be. I'm on those. Those bastards. They played Final Fantasy Adventure for the Game Boy.
Oh, yeah.
I assume
Was it
that's an incredible experience.
Yeah, did they like it?
So, have you ever... Are either of you familiar with the Secret of Mana franchise?
Yes.
No.
So Final Fantasy Adventure is basically Secret of Mana 1. So it is much more a like Zelda than it is a turn. It's not a turn-based RPG at all. It's a action RPG, like top-down, like original Zelda style.
Mm-hmm.
Except they also added a bunch of RPG elements like HP and MP and spells and stats and stuff like that. But it's on the Game Boy, so it's kind of incredible.
Interesting.
So I don't know if I'm eventually going to have to play it for the rankings, but they did that, and so now there's a lot of Game Boy talk going on.
Gino, you don't have to do anything, okay? You're your own man.
That's true. But someday, someone might pick that, and then I would have to, because I'm a man of honor.
That's also true. Speaking of honor,
Yes.
Oh, sorry. We're not ready to transition to the game yet. Anyway.
Oh, we could.
We
We could
could,
transition. I'll just before we transition to the game. That's what's going on in the Discord. There's some Final Fantasy Adventure discussion. There's some Game Boy Mega Man discussion. Let me check the food channel. Make sure there's no crimes in there. Oh, yep, there is something in the food channel that we need to talk about. Pete,
Sure.
you're not aware of this, I don't think, because you live a balanced life.
I wouldn't go that far, but
Are you aware of the International House of Pancakes?
I am.
Have you heard of this?
This
It's a new thing.
I've heard
I
of
don't know
I've
if
heard
you
of
did.
IHOP. Sure. I also heard of the brief moment they were IHOB.
Yeah, that was weird, wasn't it?
It
It was weird.
Are you aware of Sonic the Hedgehog?
Yeah. I mean, as we both know, I am.
What if I told you that your
This
favorite
is wait. Let me
pancake
pause
house?
for a second.
Yeah,
This
what?
isn't going to be good. Like whatever this synergy is, these are cursed units coming together, and they're not going to cancel out.
What if I told you that your favorite?
Continuing our streak of prophetic podcast picks.
Yes,
We have foreseen the IHOP and Sonic the Hedgehog crossover,
we have.
which we predicted, obviously.
Yep, Nostradamus. So your favorite pancake house has partnered with Sega to bring you foods inspired by the Sonic the Hedgehog universe. So here
What?
there are 6
For
meals
the kids?
for the kids. 6 meals for the kids, or adults. They don't care. Here they are as follows. We've got the Tails 2x2x2, which is
Okay,
2
I get it.
pancakes, 2 either bacon
eggs.
strips or sausages, and 2 eggs.
Super standard breakfast. I like how they're breaking new ground.
But it's 2 because he's Tails.
Right.
Pete, I'm going to preempt your complaints about each one of these. These are all menu items that were already on the IHOP menu.
Okay.
They do not make any new ground to do this crossover. They're
Perfect.
simply naming the plates after Sonic characters.
I appreciate you saving me time, Em. I would have made the same complaint every time.
Yes.
Yeah, so you see the name, it says Tails is 2x2x2, but then in parentheses it says 2x2x2. And then next up we've got Sonic's Blue Blur Special, which is double blueberry pancakes. And it says in parentheses it's just double blueberry pancakes. I should say there's flavor text on these. Tails's just like Tails, everything good comes in 2s. Sonic's Blueberry Special says double the blueberries for double the speed. Asked to try with blueberry syrup. We've got Knuckles' chicken sandwich. Famously, Knuckles that
Sure,
loves
yeah.
chicken sandwiches.
It could have very easily been a knuckle sandwich. It was right there.
Yeah,
It's just a chicken sandwich.
it's a buttermilk ranch that won't leave you hanging.
Oh, because he climbs stuff. I get it.
Yep, with a side of onion rings.
Sure.
The
I
next
like
one's
rings.
my
rings.
favorite.
Rings.
Rings.
Get it?
Oh, okay. I still think they're coins, but
Gold
I'll take your
onion
word
rings.
for it.
We've got Dr. Eggman's Benedict,
That one's my favorite.
which is classic Eggs Benedict. A 300 IQ genius like Eggman knows that Black Forest ham, poached eggs, and hollandaise sauce makes for a superior meal.
Sure.
We've got
Honestly.
Amy's Sweet Strawberry Delight, which is strawberry waffle sundae, which is vanilla ice cream, chocolate syrup, and fresh strawberries atop a golden brown waffle. Quarter is a perfectly sweet dessert for an epic adventure. Asked to try with strawberry syrup. No Amy flavor text, really.
No.
No.
Didn't really know what to say about her.
No, they're just like, she's pink? I don't know.
Find his girlfriend, I think, except for the human one, but they probably don't mention that on the IHOP menu.
No, they don't. I just like to imagine that they showed a picture to someone at IHOP and said, you have to write this copy in 20 minutes.
This is ChatGPT, 100%. No human was involved in this decision.
We've
I'm
got
sure.
Shadow's Chaos Chocolate Pancakes, the last item, which is a chocolate chip pancake. Go ahead and be a little chaotic. A stack filled with chocolate chips is the true ultimate pancake experience. Ultimate is bolded
Oh
and
my
underlined.
Yeah. See,
even
they like nailed it with that one.
Yes.
yeah, even Shadow's flavor text sounds like a tool.
They nailed it with Shadow.
Yeah.
Most of the rest of them are not good. But
Clearly, they were a Shadow the Hedgehog fan.
we've been asked if
They
we're
didn't
going
know
to.
anything about the other ones.
We were asked if we're going to cover this.
No.
Cover this? Like in what capacity? Like what? We've done it. It's finished.
We're
If we
gonna go to IHOP.
if we're going to go to IHOP
Get one of each.
and order one, I don't know. Look,
They're chocolate chip pancakes. You've had them. You know what they're like.
but maybe
Don't
Shadow the
review.
Hedgehog's chocolate chip pancakes are
No.
special.
They're the
They're not.
same fucking thing.
Nothing on the IHOP menu is special.
Okay, there's 6 items here. If we
You can
wanted,
get 2 of them.
we each have significant others that we could go to an IHOP with and get
Yeah, I
them to
won't
order
for
a thing.
long if you wrote me into this plan.
That's fair. You could have the chicken sandwich, Pete.
Gino, you're married, all right? Your
Yeah,
significant other's stuck with you.
it's true.
Now, granted, my significant other couldn't afford the rent without me, but I think she could figure that out if I made her go to IHOP.
But she could have
What's wrong with
Amy's
IHOP?
Sweet Strawberry Delight. I'm sure she's a huge Sonic the Hedgehog fan.
She is. She's a big blueberry pancake fan.
Well, then
There
she
you
could
go.
do Sonic's Blueberry Special. Do you think they charge more or less because it's got Sonic on it?
Obviously. If you ask for it by the name Sonic Blue Blur Special, they're gonna put $2 extra on top of it.
Also,
Just
this
just
is
for the
2
branding.
words, right? It's blue blur.
Yes.
Blue
Special.
Blur, yes.
Blue
What
Blur
a terrible!
Special.
It's impossible to say without it being bloober.
Blue
Like,
Blur.
what a terrible
Yeah.
name.
Look, that's his nickname. I'm sorry. He's the Blue Blur. He's the
See?
Bloober.
The Bloober.
It's so hard.
He's Bloober Team. He's the original Bloober Team. Okay, we can discuss off air whether we can, if any of us can convince another human being to go, or if it's just going to be me sitting at an IHOP sadly ordering 6 things and then asking someone next to me to eat the chicken sandwich.
There's one so close to me. It'd be so easy for me.
We could look. Maybe they'll give us a cool toy. I don't know.
Do you think there's a toy involved with this?
Probably
They
not.
They
They're
didn't even
IHOP.
make a new menu item.
Do you think
No,
they expect grown adults to come here and order these?
maybe. I don't know.
Are there young Sonic fans? I mean, maybe they do expect adults.
I mean, there are Sonic fans. To my understanding, you become 7, and then you become a Sonic fan, and then you become like 15, and you cease paying attention to Sonic the Hedgehog. It's like what's that movie where like you stop being able to see magical realism when you get too old? Oh, is it Toy Story? Like when you get too old, you just
I mean, that's
Stop
a lot
rest-
of movies. Peter Pan.
Peter Pan. That's it. Once you age out,
hmm
you can't hang out with Peter and his boys anymore. So that's we might look. I might.
Absolutely not.
I might.
Sonic feels like it belongs at Denny's.
That's
How
true.
dare you?
Yes. Well, Denny's might actually have a chili dog.
That's true.
Denny's
IHOP.
is so much better than IHOP.
Yeah. I mean, most things are better than IHOP. That's our Sonic Minute for this podcast. Hopefully, we don't have to have another one.
It's very nice of them to honor the deceased Sonic the Hedgehog in this way.
Yeah.
A year after his untimely demise.
You know, I'm sorry I lied. There is one other thing.
God
Sonic
damn
the
it.
Hedgehog
Thank
related.
God. Thank God.
So we all remember known criminal Yuji Naka.
Oh
Sure.
my God. Did
Sonic
he die
the-
in prison?
No, he didn't die in prison.
Oh, okay.
Good, because I haven't gotten in there yet to see him.
Yeah, we
We're
haven't
still
sent-
working on it. We can't have him not submit to an interview.
He is currently blaming. He is saying that the maker of Dragon Quest, like one of the lead developers of Dragon Quest, perjured themselves to set him up in the insider trading charge.
Ooh,
Sure.
I don't think that exonerates you from insider trading.
I don't think so.
I
But-
imagine there was other evidence.
Probably, but he's claiming he didn't do it.
Okay.
So
Well, we'll see how that goes over.
yeah,
Maybe you won't have to go into a Japanese prison, Pete.
Maybe not. I'll ask him about that though. If I do get in,
Yeah.
we'll go over all this.
but this is very much getting Al Capone for tax evasion. Putting
You think?
Yuji Naka for insider trading. There are so many worse crimes that he's committed.
True.
All right. Well, that's our Sonic Minute officially, and now it's time to turn our attention to Command and Conquer 3, Command and Conquer Red Alert 3, not Command and Conquer 3, which, Pete, I'm sorry you made the mistake of playing Tiberium War for
I
too
did.
long.
I did. But I was like, that's Michael Ironside. He was in Starship Troopers. This is a lot like Starship Troopers. Can I do my transition though that I was planning?
Yes, please
Oh,
do.
yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Speaking of honor, you can learn a lot about Japanese culture from Command and Conquer 3.
Oh, no. Please don't.
You can learn something about Japan, maybe.
When you think of Japan, do you think bonsai and calligraphy? I have good news for you.
And tea?
Mhm.
Oh, man, we're going to have to go over that. So, Em, could you give me the rundown? Give me the skinny
Oh,
on
sweet
this game.
Jesus. Oh boy, Command and Conquer Red Alert 3 came out in 2008. It is a real-time strategy game by Electronic Arts, who you may know from a lot of other things.
EA Sports. It's in the
Yeah,
game.
exactly. See, they got you with the jingle. Yeah. Get advertised to, idiot. Uh, the Command and Conquer Red Alert 3 premise is that the Soviet Union decides that the use of nuclear weapons must be stopped by any means necessary. So they are going to go back in time. They are going to kill Albert Einstein, and then they're going to go forward in time again, and then everything is going to be looking a lot better for Soviet Russia. So they go down into their secret bunker. This is Tim Curry and someone else, by the way.
Peter
Forgot
Peter
to
Stormare.
mention that.
Peter
Yeah.
Stormare.
Yes. So they go down into their secret laboratory where Dr. Gregor Zelinsky has made a time machine, and then they go back to 1927. They erase Albert Einstein from existence in a very similar way to how Einstein erased Adolf Hitler in the original Red Alert games, by the way.
He worked in a patent office.
Yeah. That has nothing to do with this.
Nope.
And then they go back forward in time, and they find out that there's now a new enemy, which is the Empire of the Rising Sun in Japan, because Japan did not have a nuclear weapons dropped on them, and so they could just plow ahead with what they were doing, their empire, and there are no nuclear weapons anymore, but there are so many weirder things.
A lot of giant robots. I don't know why we plowed all our points into that in the dev tree.
Giant robots. They got zeppelins that drop bombs on you. They got little crab walker thingies. We put bears in vests, and that's a unit now.
Yeah.
What else?
Dolphins.
We got some
Transforming
weird
robots,
stuff.
Tesla coils everywhere.
Yep.
Weaponized dolphins, as you said, like freeze rays. A lot of basically the nuclear bomb was holding back hijinks.
Yes.
Because once you've got a nuke, why bother investing in hijinks? We could have done so much more pigeon guided bombs or bats with napalm on them. But instead,
It really wasn't sporting of you to make a war-ending bomb, because we should have had so much more fun with all these war machines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't look when you've got a war hammer. Everything's a war nail.
Warhammer
Was-
40,000.
When you've got 40,000 war hammers, everything's a war nail. Yes, Pete.
Was the nuclear bomb really what was holding Zeppelins back? I mean, I think by World War II, we were pretty much done with Zeppelins already.
No. Yes.
Eh.
Command and Conquer Red Alert 3 posits. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything was because the nuclear bomb happened. We didn't get to have any more fun. No more fun allowed.
Yeah. If it wasn't for the nuke, war would have been fun.
Yeah.
Cool. With laser katanas.
Yeah, another technology that makes perfect sense in a world with, machine guns.
So let's start with the gameplay of this, because it is an RTS game, real-time strategy. You are from a kind of isometric perspective looking down on your units. You're creating a lot of units, ordering them around to different ports on a map. They all have different properties. Command and Conquer it is my understanding that it is a kind of rocks, paper, scissors situation with sea, air, and land, kind of Navy, Air Force, Army situation. And certain units are good against certain other ones and weak against others, or like completely unable to interact with others.
Yeah, it's weird. Like cannons, like anti-aircraft cannons can't hurt infantry, which seems like a strange choice. Like it's a huge gun. It would kill people.
Yeah, you get there's a lot of like running people over like you can do with some tanks, even if they can't shoot at things in front of them. But yeah, there's very few units that can just attack anything. Usually there's trade-offs. And so you get a lot of units that are specifically designed to counter another unit and then be completely vulnerable to another one. It's just a lot of juggling different rocks, paper, scissors, which is, that was prevalent in other RTSs of the time, but it seems much more pronounced here. What RTSs have you played other than Red Alert 3, Pete?
I think Age of Empires or something so like close to it as to be functionally identical,
Okay. What other RTSs have you played?
I try to avoid RTSs as if they were a disease. I think I have played maybe 2 hours worth of RTSs in my entire life, not counting this one.
Okay. So was StarCraft the germ that raised your immune system to RTSs?
Yes. Almost certainly. I can't think of any other ones that I would have even bothered to look at.
Okay. I played StarCraft and then Brood War and then StarCraft 2. So like that was my exposure to RTSs. And coming to Command and Conquer Red Alert 3, I was not prepared for just how stupid many of the units would be. And by stupid, I don't mean like war bears and Tesla coils. I mean, if your units are next to a building that is getting shot, they will not defend that building. They will not intervene. I was not able to figure out how to get my units to be on alert or just like set up a spawn point for where my units should go after they spawn. Like in StarCraft, I would just like drop a waypoint into the combat or something. If I was in the middle of a big battle, I could just have the units spawn and automatically run over without having to micromanage them. I don't know if it's just different hotkeys or what, but I could not figure out how to do some of that stuff.
Gino, forgive a question from somebody who learned everything about StarCraft from YouTube videos.
Mm-hmm.
But as I understand Brood War, that was like a punishingly dumb game as well in the way you described. Like you needed to map out, you needed to basically do everything individually as opposed to like being able to do it for like groups of units at a time.
No, you can. So in Brood War, you can like click drag, select a bunch of units. If you are being optimal, right? If you are high level with Brood War, then yes, you are micromanaging everything because the AI will not target. Like they won't focus fire on a single enemy. If you just leave them to their own devices, they'll spread damage around. Especially like, and units like Marines in StarCraft that can shoot at land and air, like they might spread their fire really inefficiently, and then that'll lead to your units just getting killed.
Gotcha.
So if you want to play optimally, yes, you need to do that. But like if you just leave Marines next to someone who's in range, they'll fight back. They'll kind of generally figure it out. In Command and Conquer, boy, there were a number of times where I was like, they're saying my base is under attack, but I've got units right next to my building, so they'll defend it, right? And then I'll go back and it's just a pile of rubble, and I'm like, what were you here for? Why would... And it was just constant. Like, anytime I left my units alone for 5 minutes, I can't ask them to patrol. I can't ask them to, like, attack move super well. Like, if the target that they were attacking dies, they'll just stop moving to where I sent them. Just a lot of really annoying things. And this game also has a camera that's pulled in super tight.
Yeah.
And how did you find it?
The camera sucks. The camera feels like it's a top-down perspective, right?
Yep.
Like you should be able to see like quite a bit of land, but it feels like it's so claustrophobic. Weirdly, you can only see like a couple of buildings on screen at one time. It's a very odd choice. I don't know if it's a setting you can change, but I was like, this seems wrong. This seems incorrect.
You might be able to mod it.
Probably with mods, yes. I mean, you could do anything with mods. Maybe you could make this game better if you modded it.
It take a lot of mods.
The reason is because this game came out in 2008, and I believe it also was available on Xbox. Yeah, it was available on 360, PS3. Like, this was made for a pretty broad spectrum of control schemes and hardware capacity. So having a ton of units on screen at once
probably wasn't ideal. Yeah,
not an option. And then controlling, you had to make this game controllable on a damn controller instead of mouse and keyboard. So they really dumbed down what some of these units can do. They dumbed down some of the capabilities of how to order them around. Like in StarCraft and other similar games, sometimes units will have 4 or 5, 6 abilities that they can pop off, depending on how much you level them up. In Command and Conquer Red Alert 3, every unit has an ability, one. Some of them don't even really do much, but they don't really expand on that.
While we're talking about things that annoyed us, I have one.
Yes.
So, Command, this one bothered me a lot, actually. Command and Conquer 3 made an interesting decision, especially when compared to Tiberium War, a game I played way too much of, that they no longer have, ore deposits. Actual units of things you can mine and see get smaller, and then you have to go and find new ones. You just sort of build these miners, and they give you a set amount of resource per minute. That annoyed me. I want to be able to see the things. I want to have to go find new things. I want to be able to fight over things.
You want to do that?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, you hate RTSs. That's been established. That's a big part of the RTS gameplay.
Yeah, I guess so. I remember doing that in StarCraft.
It's economy. I mean, I think it's simplified. I liked that, you did still have to mine resources. They were just only a few points that you could go mine from. I mean, in story mode, I didn't really have to worry about it all that much, but I assume that if you played this in competitive, that's how...
You're a real sicko.
Yeah, if you're a real sicko, you would probably be building multiple bases and making a lot of harvesters to harvest resources. It was interesting that, in this game, you only had one harvester per resource pile. It's just it's a little car that drives from the mine and then drops it off at a resource refinery, but you have to always place it exactly the same distance away. So it implies that there should be some navigation where the mining unit has to find the resources, but they basically put the two 2 feet away from each other, and that's how you have to build. It's weird. They still have the vestigial parts of setting up a mine and then having a bunch of units that go out to mine stuff. But in practice, it's basically just a single thing that you never really have to worry about unless people target your minor, which they can do. So the different factions here, you've got the Allies, you've got the Soviet Union, and you've got the Empire of the Rising Sun. Each of these armies has different units. They have a different build style. Which of the three did you most enjoy playing, Em?
You have to pick one. You can't say none.
Most enjoyed for like the units they have, or actually like playing them.
I mean,
what's your metric?
When you were playing the game part, not just watching the FMVs.
When I was playing the game part, it would probably have to be the Soviets, because
Really?
that's the one I played.
I played all three.
Listen, you could get me to play one campaign.
That's fair. That's fair.
But I like the approach of the Japanese, the Empire of the Rising Sun. It seemed pretty cool.
Can I ask?
Mm-hmm.
This might just be me recalling wrong. Did they ever actually say Japan in the game, or was it always the Empire of the Rising Sun?
They say Empire of the Rising Sun almost exclusively, I think.
Yeah.
I think they at some point say
deliberate.
Japan, though.
Are they like, we don't want to like say Japan? Like,
they say they're attacking Japan at one point
Okay.
when the Allies attack the Empire.
They use Japan as a location name, not a like culture.
Yeah, they're kind of vague on like which countries. Is it just Japan, or is it Japan and the stuff that it conquered in World War II? Like unclear.
Yeah, I don't think we know if it's. Yeah, do we know where the empire extends to at this point? Okay.
We don't
I know it includes Pearl Harbor, which seemed like an interesting choice.
Huh.
Yeah, Hawaii, because of time travel, Hawaii is
Right.
Japanese territory in this game.
Yep.
That is, we'll have to go over that when we discuss story. It's crazy.
All of it is crazy.
It is.
That's true.
Pete, did you pick up on the differences between how you build units with these different armies? Like,
I mean, there's difference in price. There's difference in like queues. So like the Russian, or I should say Soviet Union, can like do stuff with their cranes, and they get like an additional build queue basically from that. I'm sure there are more subtleties I didn't pick up on.
Yeah, so like the Soviets, they just go and build, like you say build, and then there's a slow build of the building getting actually built. The Allies, you tell the main building to build, and like a timer will go off, and then once that timer's done, you can then just deploy the building, which then has a really fast build time. So you can kind of like rapidly deploy buildings, but the build times aren't super fast. And then the Empire of the Rising Sun actually spits out a little drone, basically, that unpacks a building wherever you want to deploy it.
I did get that, because you can put it pretty much anywhere.
Exactly. So like the Soviet Union has like a build radius around their main buildings where power kind of extends to. The Allies, similarly. Empire of the Rising Sun can kind of unpack a base wherever they want, which seems broken. I don't know. Like, you can only really build defensive turrets around buildings for the Allies and the Soviets. The Empire of the Rising Sun can just put defensive turrets frickin' everywhere. And they're pretty good.
Gino, to answer the question you asked of M, setting aside the FMVs and the actual levels themselves, because obviously some are better than others, I liked playing the Americans exclusively because I like building really big, badass air forces.
Yeah, and their air
That
force
is what
the
they
best.
do. Yeah.
I liked playing the Empire of the Rising Sun because they've got transformers.
Yep.
They do.
They've got a bunch of units that can transform between multiple forms. Usually it's a land form and an air form. There's one where it's an air form and a water form. But it's just so much more flexible for those units. Like, you can just pump out a bunch of those units and be good against 2 or 3 different types of enemies. Whereas If you just happened to build the wrong unit for the wrong situation, for the Allies or the Soviets, sometimes they just can't shoot at anything, you know? Like if you made a bunch of anti-air tanks for the Soviets and then a ground unit rolls up on you, your units just die without being able to fight back at all, which I didn't like. Empire of the Rising Sun, it doesn't happen as much. What was your favorite zany unit?
Dolphin.
Dolphin?
The Dolphin is the funniest unit. As far as units that I played with, let me find the names. Hold on. There's this stupid like walker thing,
The
like
sickle?
you get really early on. Those things are like probably one of the more ridiculous things that would never work in real life. So
Yeah.
that's my zany unit choice.
That's the anti-infantry
Yes.
walker. Yeah, that's the sickle.
Yeah.
Because Soviet Union, you say.
And there's also the hammer tank to go with it, because you got to have the hammer and the sickle.
Of course.
And I don't know. All the units are pretty weird, though.
I did like that the Soviet
Dolphin.
anti-air transport unit also had a little cannon that it could shoot dudes out of, like you're at a
Yeah.
circus.
That was like one of the first things you get. I'm like, oh, this is what this game's about. That's the bullfrog. Yeah, it just fires guys out of a, like, catapults them, and then
Like a trampoline or something.
yeah, they just like parachute down. It's very silly.
Pete, what was your favorite nonsense unit?
Mine was probably a two-way tie between the Russian unit that burrows into other units and destroys them from the inside. That's this game, right?
Yeah,
Now I'm
it's
asking myself
I
if
forget what it's
Siberian
called.
Wars.
It was like the parasite of the virus. Like it was.
Yeah.
It was a bad robot, evil robot,
Terror
The other
drone.
one,
terror drone.
Terror
yeah.
Drone. There we go. Evil Robot. That was close.
Pretty close.
My other one was Japan's Ultimate Unit, which is like a samurai mech, but three of them smashed together. So it just has swords in three different directions.
The Shogun Executioner,
Yes,
Yep.
thank you. The Shogun Executioner.
which is it's a story only unit.
Yes.
But when you use it, it's great because it's Japan, so it has to have a kaiju.
Why is it 3 mechs and not just one mech? Like, why is it facing in 3 directions? I don't
You can't sneak
understand
up on
that.
it.
I guess so.
Sneak up on it. It's like
got me
50
there.
stories tall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I liked their Shogun robots are quite good too. They're they're their ultimate ground unit. They're just a giant mech with a sword and laser eyes. And then they will run up. Their special move is just a shoulder tackle. That does a ton of damage and covers a lot of ground. For me, I mean, the Tesla coil tanks were pretty good. The Fighting Bear was nice.
Oh, you're a fan
Americans-
of animal cruelty, Gino? Oh, glad I know that now.
Yeah.
I like the spies, the American spies, because their special move was bribery.
I forgot about them.
And they just throw money at all enemies around them. And so you lose 1,000 credits, but everyone turns coat and joins you. Which was pretty funny when that worked. Yeah, and I guess the Japanese units, their commando is a like psychic schoolgirl.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is not great, but it was very funny watching her just pick up tanks and throw them.
At least the one thing I will say for the psychic schoolgirl is at least she doesn't show up in the FMVs.
Yeah.
I think she's in the expansion.
Oh, they saved that. They were like, look, we need some way to convince these weirdos to buy this one.
And Ric Flair is not doing it all by himself.
We all love the Nature Boy.
I don't know if I know she had like a lot of art done of her, but I don't think they had like someone cast as her. Well, I mean, there was like from afar you see her like floating around or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, I don't think there is a adult actress who they hired for this one, unlike
No.
all of the other women in this game.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, this game, because of the camera, because of the rocks paper scissors units, I didn't love playing it, and like the missions, it's a lot of just like first two missions are control some units and move them around, learn what your basic units do. Then we give you a base, and you've got to destroy some statues or protect some statues. What were there any standout missions that you want to call out as being especially fun?
Sure, I got a couple that I wanted to mention. One is when Mount Rushmore erupts into a whole bunch of
Damn
robot
it.
laser heads.
That was my pick.
Yeah,
That's
so
the
go
best
on.
mission in the game.
it is. The president turns on you. This is one of the US missions.
This is
I
an
think.
allied
Yes.
mission, yeah.
Yeah. So the president turns on you and is going to nuke Russia on his own. It's actually not a nuke. It's like an ion cannon or something of some sort.
We don't have
And then-
those. Remember the lore.
Right. I'm sorry. How could I forget? And then where they hid this was in one of the president's heads in Mount Rushmore. So you need to stop the president before he gets there in his limo and launches the cannon. But as you try to stop him, the other president's heads awaken and shoot lasers from their eyes at you.
Yeah, it's great. I love, as he's like activating each of the president's heads, there's just, announcer voice over the comms who like tells you when your base is under attack. And when he activates a head, it'll be like, Lincoln is online. Jefferson is online. And yeah, they just one-shot your units. They just shoot laser beams and kill your tanks, which is very cool. Yeah, you have to destroy one of the heads or like one of the facilities in front of one of the heads, and then you have to kill the president. You have to stop him from getting away.
The Allied army kill the president of the United States.
Your commander's British, so the
Yeah.
Allies.
Yes, that's cool.
Yeah,
It's fine.
Not to claim two, if this was somebody else's
Right.
pick. But the other one that got me was I was close to the final, if not the final mission of the Soviet campaign, where your mission is to basically destroy the Statue of Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
The logic being, if you destroy the Statue of Liberty, the Americans would be demoralized and instantly give up. And my only thought in playing this was, let's say like the Statue of Liberty fell. Let's say it collapsed. No casualties, everybody's fine. How long would you be sad for?
If it happened in real life, you mean?
Yeah, like if you woke up tomorrow and you'd like read the Statue of Liberty collapsed, nobody died. How long would you be sad?
Honestly, I would be surprised it hadn't happened already.
That thing's so oxidized.
Yeah, it's a giant copper statue in the middle of seawater.
Yeah.
So, probably
It's
not that sad.
It
No.
even standing is hubris.
Yeah. I wouldn't care in the least.
Yeah.
They were like, this is the most important monument to all of Americans deep, deep, deep in their hearts. Bonus fun fact for you about the Statue of Liberty. It was a gift from France. No, not that one. Everybody knows that. One time, David Copperfield made it disappear in the live TV special, I think in like the 90s. So the way he did it, he's never admitted this, but the way people think he did it is there was a live audience at the taping, and they were all like sitting in this stage where they looked at the Statue of Liberty, and then they like raised a curtain, and then supposedly the platform turned super, super slowly until they were just looking at another part of the ocean, and then they dropped the curtain, and they were like, "Oh my God, it's gone!"
What an illusion.
Interesting.
What a master of illusion.
I'm surprised it wasn't a series of mirrors, but what can you do?
Did he bring it back?
He did.
Did it
He did.
slowly turn around
That's-
again?
Why we still have a Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
David Copperfield. We only have a Statue of Liberty because David Copperfield allows it.
Yep.
Yeah, that mission's very good. I liked the Pearl Harbor mission that we talked about, where Japan's like, the Allies are going to bomb Pearl Harbor, and George Takei's like, but that's where all of our cultural artifacts are.
Yeah, not only
Why did they
not
put
only
them
does
there?
Pearl Harbor, Yeah, not only does Japan get Pearl Harbor, they moved all of the most important cultural items thousands of miles away from mainland Japan.
And so you have to take a like series of seafaring units and prevent Allied units from getting to Pearl Harbor to bomb it. Which that was kind of fun. Like any of the missions where I just got to control a few units, I liked a lot more than the wide open battles. There was another. Actually, I think it was the Pearl Harbor mission. Like I was defending. You have to defend this giant sea base that's in between Pearl Harbor and the United States. And at first, like a lot of these missions start with one phase, and then you complete that phase, and then the map expands, and then there's a second phase of the fight. In this one, phase 1 was like defend this base, and then phase 2 is okay. Now go take out this other base that's just off camera. And I actually defended the base so effectively that I had units to spare, so I just kind of sent them out to destroy this opposing base anyway before it told me to. And so then the mission just kind of quickly ended because I had accidentally destroyed the like secondary objective before it even told me to, which was fun. That was cool. But yeah, otherwise it's RTS stuff, If you've played one of those, you make a bunch of boats. Sometimes your economy's bad. How did you find the AI of your companion? Because there's a second general in all of these missions. Em, how did you find them to be?
I mean, the little like lady who's running around with a sniper rifle in the Soviet
No, not
campaign?
the commando. There's usually a secondary, like a second
right.
color unit who's
Yeah.
in your ear, just like, "Hey, I am Oleg. I am helping."
I mean, usually the AI knew what the objective was more than I did. So, like, if I was across the map doing something else, and I was like, am I supposed to be doing something? I would look and see what Oleg was doing. So, I guess useful in that regard, but it seemed fine. I didn't have any problems with it. Did you have problems with it?
Just once. Like
Yeah.
the last mission for Japan, for the Empire of the Rising Sun, my secondary commander just lost the plot, and it's a pretty long mission, and so he just didn't. All of the targets were on land, and he just kept building boats, and I was like, you can't. And his boats, he couldn't figure out because of the pathing. Like the pathing with the units in this game is not good. If there is not a straight line to where you're asking them to go, if anything is obstructing it, they might just abandon going where you told them to go at all and just like give up. So that's what happened. Like his boats had a path where they could potentially go and actually impact the battle, but because he couldn't micro them to like go around a curve, his units were effectively dead and they wouldn't fight. So that was very annoying. It didn't happen very frequently, but every time it happened, I was like, come on. Really all you can do for those commanders is tell them to attack something or tell them to play aggressively or defensively, like kind of macro guidance. You can't just take control of their units, which was annoying occasionally. But man, that pathing though, I don't know if you ran into those problems too. Pete or M, did either of you have a unit just decide, nah, I'm not going to go there?
The pathing is garbage.
Yeah.
Waist-high walls are the biggest enemy of all the armies.
Yeah, that's why I try to focus almost solely on flying units, because flying units can't run into a wall and then abandon what you told them to do. Whereas boats and land units do all the time. Yeah, man. There were some units that were like, they could go on land and sea. What is the term for that? Amphibious. Yeah, there were some amphibious units, and if they were in the water and there was a ramp just immediately to their left, but I put them on a straight line that didn't include the ramp, they would just run into a wall instead of going to the ramp, so I just had to micro them onto land, even though they're amphibious. Yeah, just a lot of nuisances like that. So, gameplay, totally fine. Let's get to the main course here. The Tim Curry of it all. Pete, Tim Curry, he's in it. What are we thinking?
There's a moment where he checks out a lady's ass. And I was like, Tim Curry, You cad.
He checks her out, and then he turns to the camera and is like, "You were looking too, weren't you?" And he's like, "No."
So this, neither here nor there, but throughout the game, there are multiple military officials, women in ranking positions, in short-skirted miniskirts, presumably part of their official military uniform.
This
What's
is
the problem
what-
with that?
Yeah, no, I'm pointing it out as a positive. If you want, like, this is a reason to play. The story's gibberish. I mean, we already pointed out the Statue of Liberty thing. There's a point where it turns out the president was a robot all along.
Yeah. President J.K. Simmons was a robot. George Takei is the emperor of the Empire of the Rising Sun, and he is very adamant that if you destroy enough buildings and monuments, everyone will give in to fascism.
Yeah, he's really hung up on the monuments. They do the same Statue of Liberty thing in Soviet Russia, which I assume the monument's real. I didn't bother to look it up.
Yeah, and I mean the Americans. Okay, so do we discuss the cast first or the plot? What do we think? Which is more important?
Let's go through the plot, really, or the cast, because
Okay.
you have to understand who we're referring to when we talk about these characters.
I mean, they got some names. Like we already said, J.K. Simmons, George Takei, Tim Curry.
Yes. Randy Couture.
Yeah, I mean, what a weird pick. I mean, was this around the Expendables? Because he was in one of those.
2008. So yeah, it would have been.
So yeah, it would have been first Expendables or so.
It's kind of crazy. Let me. We've got Jenny McCarthy. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, this would have been post-vaccine skepticism too.
She was available.
Yeah.
There's the High Sparrow from Game of Thrones.
Yep.
Yes, we have Jonathan Pryce.
Field Marshal Robert Bingham.
Gina Carano. So Gina Carano as the commando for the Russians.
Also a name that did not age well.
No. Gemma Atkinson as the Lieutenant Ava McKenna. She's the assistant lady for the Allies. This was one of her only acting roles, believe it or not. But yeah,
I believe it.
It's a lot of B and C tier actors that I am surprised signed on to this. Who do you think was having the most?
It's a parade of that guys.
Yes. Who do you think was having the most fun?
Tim Curry, absolutely. 100%.
Tim Curry's sleeper pick J.K. Simmons. He seems to be enjoying himself.
I thought Peter Stormare. Because every time he says time machine, he's just like,
machine.
They're going after my time machine.
And the jowls he's got going on, during the whole thing.
Yeah.
Several times when he says time machine, he starts to laugh at himself.
Yeah.
Which is also very funny.
It's the best. Tim Curry, his famous line that he delivers at the end of the Allied mission, where he's going to the only place uncorrupted by capitalism, space. That's the most unhinged this game ever gets. But Peter Stormare is just unhinged throughout in a way that I appreciate.
So there is a article that I posted in the Discord.
Yeah, what was that on? Which site? Let's give credit.
Let me find it. It's a little far back. There was a lot of conversation about this game that I didn't pay attention to.
I'm trying to find
Vice.
Oh, go ahead.
It was a Vice article called "An Oral History of Tim Curry's Escape to the One Place Uncorrupted by Capitalism."
We should all be so lucky.
Yeah. So this was hey, how did this happen? Why
did you do this to us?
Yeah. So they're talking to who are they talking to?
So this is
talking to a bunch of people.
Waypoint, Games by Vice. The article is An Oral History of Tim Curry's Escape to the One Place Uncorrupted by Capitalism by Duncan Fife.
Yes.
And yeah, man, I read this article like years ago, and apparently, would you believe it? They had Tim Curry for one day for every scene, all scenes.
Sure. Yeah.
So he basically had a 12-hour day. And
Of
during
just
that,
reading a teleprompter, basically.
yes. And apparently that famous line, space, was him just kind of, as you can imagine from like how a lot of these scenes are shot, a lot of these actors are seeing their line for the first time when it is presented to them on the teleprompter. And they're just going for it. So apparently he nailed this first take. It's perfect.
It's
a
perfect.
perfect
What
line.
would you change?
Exactly. Like, how could you make it better? You can't. Cut it, print it. But you can see in Tim Curry's eyes, like, how bleary-eyed he is throughout this entire game. He looks so haggard by the end of it. Did you appreciate George Takei just staring directly at the teleprompter for almost all of his lines, Pete?
I did. Just telling me about Bushido and the samurai way.
Yeah.
Would you say that that it's racist? The portrayal of Japan, Russia. I'd say all of it.
Yeah,
Honestly.
I mean, the parts against America are just sort of like low hanging fruit. Like, oh, the rich and decadent Americans. Like, it didn't really hurt my feelings much. The Japan stuff is like, let's just use the first things. Like, picture Japan stereotypes in your mind, and let's just use the first three we come up with. And it's like bonsai, calligraphy, swords. Done. Let's do no more research or thought into this.
Yeah, it's just people bringing George Takei green tea and then him turning to the camera and being like, "We must teach the dogs."
Honor. Fight
honor.
with honor, son.
Yes, exactly.
I have to wonder, like, did he not, like, get any feedback? Did he? Because, like, usually he's, I don't know, pretty outspoken about, like, not doing roles like this. So, what was the deal?
That's a good question. I wonder, 2008, was George Takei in a bad way?
Yeah, I don't know.
Did he need the
maybe.
check?
I guess, maybe. What was he
Yeah.
doing around 2008?
I don't know.
Probably not much.
Probably not. I guess not a lot since he was here.
True.
But yeah, he is probably the person who looks the most disoriented
Yes.
in all of this. He at no
He's
point makes
very
eye contact with
confused.
the camera. It's just him trying his best to read these lines that are being presented to him for the first time. And he doesn't do
Oh.
2 takes, so
It was not a good time for George Takei in 2008. He was himself in a lot of. He was in Futurama. He was in You Don't Mess with the Zohan.
oh no.
That's a
There's
tough
a
look right
cameo
there.
appearance. Yeah. Was he in movies?
Don't mess with
Nothing
Zohan.
notable.
The hit film.
He was in Chowder. He did a voice
Chowder.
line. He was in Chowder.
What is
You're
chow?
familiar with. Chowder was on Nickelodeon, I think.
Is
Cartoon
that the
Network.
blue? Is that the
Sorry.
blue one? Like the blue cat or whatever?
Yeah, the blue cat with
Yeah,
like purple
okay.
hat or something.
I'm just reading what's in 2008 for George Takei. Don't judge me on my knowledge of Chowder. He's in a comedy film titled Ninja Cheerleaders. So
Sure.
it was a rough go.
So, I mean, so a lot of B tier and like, campy stuff, which
Yeah.
is what this is. So
Yeah.
that checks out. I mean, it seems like most people are having a good time, and it nails the camp occasionally. Like it definitely veers more into just weird stereotypical racism
Yeah.
for the Russian and the Japanese campaigns.
It's not like mean spirited though, in the way that
No.
one racist game we played was.
No, it's just dumb. It's not
Yeah.
Jade Empire.
Ah,
Thank you.
yes.
I always forget the title of that horrible, horrible game.
Yeah, it's not Jade Empire. Because it's trying to be stupid. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen campy movies before, but they're usually dumb and sometimes they're racist. But yeah, I mean, some of it's lazy for sure. But I think most of the time they veer on the fun side. Especially like the costumes for most of these folks, especially the Russian costumes. I love the general and his 70 badges. He's got two rows of badges and medals, and they sway and move whenever he moves. It's just so much.
They do this for the American guy too.
Yes, I love how many medals.
Yeah.
Great mustache on the Russian general too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, for sure.
That's what I was gonna say.
So speaking of the cast and all of this, which commando has held up the worst to time and scrutiny?
Oof.
We've got Jenny McCartney as the American and Gina Carano as the Russian.
Real murderer's row here. I mean, it's
I
tough.
know.
It's real Sophie's choice.
I know. You've got vaccine denial on one hand, you've got weird right-wing opinion stuff on another hand, but like even more than that, like weird anti-cancer culture nonsense. Both of them are unemployable now.
Oh, most definitely.
They couldn't be in Red Alert 5 or 6.
Is there 4 of these?
I don't know.
Okay. Oof. Scary thought.
I think
Which
it's Jenny
Wahlberg
McCartney.
is she married to?
Who?
One of them's married. Which one is married to a Wahlberg?
Jennifer Ann McCarthy Wahlberg.
Oh.
I don't know if it's like a famous Wahlberg, but she's a hyphenate. No, Donnie. She's
Oh,
married to, yeah, it's not Mark. I mean, I think I
No.
would have known if it was Mark, I guess. But yeah, she's married to Donnie Wahlberg.
damn.
Hmm.
Of Wahlburgers?
Yes, of Wahlberg's fame.
Wow. Man, I was
Anyway.
very uncomfortable when in this game. So, like at the end of every mission or every
Oh my god.
Campaign.
every campaign, you always have an assistant who's always a lady in a short skirt,
Yep.
who is telling you whatever the last cutscene said, but again and sexually.
Do it
And,
again, but in this very short dress.
Sort of
Please.
breathily, if you could.
Yeah.
Bat your eyes and also unbutton like too many buttons every time too.
The
Like,
Russian
you can
one-
see bras.
The Russian one's leather, too. It's like
Yeah.
a leather one-piece skirt suit.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
So at the end of every campaign, you always get like the leader of the faction saying, "Good job, well done." If you didn't depose them, I guess.
They don't fly to the moon.
Yeah, the Russian one, everyone who commanded you is dead, so it's mostly like random people who thank you. But Pete, what would you describe the second scene after the leaders congratulate you on saving the free world?
It's your sex reward, I guess. Your assistant comes to you and presents herself as a potential conquest.
But the
Which
allies have something
I'm-
even more special.
Yeah, I'm phrasing it this way not because this is the way I would speak in normal everyday life to other human beings, but because this is the way the game presents it to you. When you do the allied one, you get the choice between the Spec Ops Commando, Jenny McCarthy, or your assistant, wearing contrasting dresses, one white, one black, just to show you that they're different and you can choose.
They
Is
fight
there
over you, Am.
does a visual novel style choice pop up during this scene?
No,
It does not. You don't actually get to make your choice.
Damn.
It's just them
That would have
talking to the
been-
camera.
Icing on the cake, baby.
Mhm.
It was like these scenes are like one step away from them going like, "You saved the free world, you hot stud."
I mean, they basically do say that, though.
Yeah, more or less. I'm surprised
less.
that they didn't go like one step further in that like choose your adventure scene and be like, I guess you can have us both.
Yeah. I thought
Wow.
I thought the divider between them was going to disappear, and
Just
then
drop.
they would be in the same room, and
That
then
would
they
have
would
been
start to
hilarious.
make out, and then that would be the fade to black.
And then it would have been rated M for mature.
Yeah, maybe that was too wishful thinking.
Rated L for lewd in the UK. Yeah, man, the sexual reward stuff is really 2000. Look, do you want to know what games makers thought of their audiences in 2008? Play Red Alert 3.
You'll find out. As we said,
Hello.
though, they did show some restraint in not doing the same thing with the psionic Japanese schoolgirl. So kudos to them.
In that, yeah, that commando is not in the game. It does not have an actor. But yeah,
You do still have a hot assistant, and you meet her on the beach.
The beach. Yep.
the beaches of Hawaii.
I recall a bikini,
Yep,
if I'm not mistaken.
She's in a bikini. The Allied people are in lingerie, and I forget what the Russian situation was.
That one's actually a little bit tamer. She just like gives you a toast in her still leather dominatrix getup.
Yeah, that's just her uniform.
Yeah, that's just how she's dressed at work ordinarily.
Yeah. So this is definitely one of the most 2008 games possible. It's amazing to see all of these careers that were rising or falling, that allowed them all to line up for this game. Like, I feel if you were making this game in modern days, you probably couldn't get J.K. Simmons anymore.
Ooh.
Jonathan Pryce is too good for this.
No.
Tim Curry, you can't for health reasons. Peter Stormare, he might still be down. Gina Carano will take any money you give her, I think, at this point.
Maybe
So
she'll
would
have a
Jenny
line
McCarthy.
if you bring her back.
I
She
think
can
the only
just
person,
stand there.
I think Gemma Atkinson, probably still there, probably
Randy
still available.
Couture would still do it.
Oh
Yeah, George Takei definitely would still do it, I think. But I think almost the entire rest. Actually, Andrew Divoff, General Krukov's actor, I think he'd probably still do it.
I don't know if Michael Ironside is still around, but he would probably do it if you offered him Tiberian Wars 3. Or
Yes.
4, I should say.
But honestly, playing this game just made me miss good FMV games.
Yeah, Michael Ironside's still alive.
Like, I miss when this was the peak of technology. Like, the best we could do is just record some people in funny outfits and then put them in a little video.
I mean, they did get J.K. Simmons for the more recent one we played, Portal 2.
Yeah, I mean, but
True.
Valve has money, like a lot
Also,
of money.
a much
Portal made so
better-
much money.
much
Yeah.
better game, much better written, obviously.
Also, he's just a voice in that one. He doesn't have to.
True.
He didn't have to show up to a set.
You didn't have to pretend to be a malfunctioning robot for a while.
I just miss this style of game. I miss this style of storytelling. I like the camp. I like that it's kind of a smaller RTS too. Like, each of these campaigns is only a few hours long. I didn't enjoy playing them because I don't enjoy RTSs all that much.
That was going to be my next question. Do any of us even like RTSs? I think it's
No.
a sound zero.
And I will say, like, I have played other RTSs, but the other RTSs I've played are better than this one.
Yeah, I
So-
still didn't like those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell the quality of them though. I'm not that oblivious. And also, I think the balance in this game is probably off. It seems askew. Seems like the Empire of the Rising Sun is perhaps better than the other ones because their units can attack the ground and the air.
It feels important.
It does. Do we have any other thoughts on Red Alert 3? Would you recommend to someone check this out, Em? You're not an RTS person, no? Immediate no.
God, no.
I'd recommend they watch the cutscenes on
yes.
YouTube.
Watch the cutscene compilations on YouTube. They're between 20 minutes and an hour. And there's only 3 campaigns, so can't really go wrong there. Playing the actual game is miserable. Or maybe it just made me miserable.
It was fine. It wasn't fun, but
Yeah.
it was okay.
It's not a best-in-class RTS, let's say.
No.
Let me
got
put it this way.
problems.
I could be playing Dragon's Dogma 2, which is a game I actually want to be playing. But here we are. So
Command & Conquer Red Alert 3, not as good as Dragon's Dogma 2, claims M. Palladino, host of
Yes.
Good Listens.
It's hard-hitting journalism. You turn
I'll
it
put
off
that
now.
on my tombstone. I don't care.
I'm going to put Valda's story was better than whatever that dumb game was on mine.
Undertale, you
Thank you.
get it right.
What? You're saying this was better than Undertale?
No, Valda's story was. This was not. I would firmly say that Undertale is better than Command & Conquer Red Alert 3.
Okay, we're going to time travel back in time, and we're going to replace Valda's story in the pick list with Red Alert 3 so that there is no contender against Undertale.
Then we're going to come back to the future, and
Kill me somehow with a handshake.
Billy will still be here, and Pete will be the one who left.
I went to the moon.
Yeah,
And these are all wax
went to
recordings.
space. Yeah.
There's CDs that we are selling out of the back of a van.
Oh boy.
All right. Well, Pete, I think with that's the end of our coverage of Red Alert 3.
Yes.
Good game, good FMV, meh game. Your mileage may vary. I guess two questions. One, Game Spy. Did anyone actually go and
No.
check and see if the servers were up to play multiplayer?
The reason we're mentioning this, we haven't talked about why this is relevant. If you open the game up, the first thing that pops up says, connect your GameSpy account, and in order to play like online.
But it'll only accept AOL email addresses.
Basically. I did go to GameSpy and found out it was closed in 2013. Which was unsurprising, because I haven't heard of that site in probably a decade.
Yeah. GameSpy, it is very funny. It is a combination, like, multiplayer server architecture, and also it was like a video game media outlet, too. It's what a weird cross-section. But yeah, so
Crazy
none of us
to
tried
think
to...
that people don't know what GameSpy is. Used to be
a big
all
deal.
over the place. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, so none of us took it online to find out how good we.
God,
oh,
no.
No, I didn't
How would-
dive into the
How would
competitive
we have
scene,
done
Gino.
that?
I didn't want to find out if there's just one guy who's just there waiting.
Apparently, there are modded servers somewhere. People do play this game, like,
People
I don't
do all
know
kinds
if
of
it's
weird stuff.
competitive. I don't know if there's a, like, esports scene for
What's
Command
the-
& Conquer Red Alert 3.
And what's the 2024 meta
Oh, God.
for Command & Conquer 3?
It's those American helicopters.
That's the meta?
The Russians have the Zeppelins. You make just 50 of those, and then you drop bombs on stuff. And I don't know what Japan has. I think Japan just is pretty good across the board, because that's how it is.
Their units do everything.
Yep.
Well, I think, Pete, you'd find that the meta. So if you're playing against Steve, who's currently 50% of the meta, it's a lot of dolphins. If you're playing against Jonathan, who's the other 50% of the meta, it's a lot of Tesla tanks. So depending on which of the two remaining players you're up against, your strategy may vary.
Dear listeners, if you are involved in the Red Alert 3 online scene,
seek help.
We would like to study you.
If you are the server,
please write into us and let us know why. You don't have to explain anything else. We don't have to know how. Just explain your reasoning, please.
There's just one LAN party in Morocco.
It's entirely made up of our South African listeners.
Wow.
Weird.
They're going to love this episode, then.
Yeah. It's going to blow Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog out of the water.
Yeah, Cape Town's bonkers for Red Alert 3. Everyone knows it. I think with that, our coverage of Red Alert 3 has ended. Pete
wait.
is now...
One more thing.
One more thing. Okay. Yes.
There was a deal on Steam to buy all of the Command and Conquer games.
Jesus. How much were they willing to pay me to do that?
It was $10, and I was like, this game usually goes for $10 by itself, I'm pretty sure. So what harm could it be? And just get all of the Command and Conquer games.
For when we cover them.
Yeah. I now have 12 Command and Conquer games.
I've got good news, Em.
Oh boy.
About my pick.
Okay.
Michael Ironside.
Tiberium Wars, I'm a step ahead. That one also seems racist for different reasons. But
Can't imagine how.
Sick.
let's not turn this whole into a Command and Conquer thing.
Please, God, no. All right.
Pete, what is your pick?
I'm going to give you a choice between two games, both of which had their moment 2 years ago, as is my one. So your choice is between an action platforming FPS or a more adventure-y cyberpunk story-ish game.
Well, our track record with Cyberpunk is notoriously bad.
Mixed, I would say.
Yeah.
But story-ish. I'm trying to figure out what 2 years ago.
Cyberpunk 2077 was 2 years ago, I think.
Oh.
Yeah.
Damn.
This
That's
one
not
was
an FPS.
positively
Oh,
reviewed.
right.
People like this one. When I say it, you'll recognize it.
Mm.
I'm just saying. I'm giving you. Steam calls it cyberpunky. I don't know
Okay.
if
Okay.
I don't know if I would call it cyberpunky.
Okay. I mean, I could go for a action adventure game.
I don't know how much action you're going to get out of it. But
Oh.
you
Okay.
get some adventure at least.
Okay.
Is that what we're going with?
Em, what do you think?
Will you tell us what the other one is that we're missing out on? Or are you
Sure.
going to
So
keep that secret?
tell you, I'll just tell them both to you. You
Okay.
decide which one you want to play. So the FPS was Neon White,
Oh.
and the adventure game is Stray.
Oh.
Okay, we need to play Neon
okay.
White.
Yeah.
Really?
Neon White's been on my list forever.
Cool
It's a
with me.
card game.
Is it a card game?
You
Kinda.
have cards, but you're not like deck building.
The cards are guns.
They're guns and parkour. So coolest things around.
Yeah, I've been eyeing Neon White for a good long while.
Cool.
This is
All
a
right, yeah.
surprise pick from you, Pete.
Hey, every once in a while I toss out someone that's not just like a weird, communist manifesto of some sort.
Yeah, you've grabbed two games that I heard a ton about 2 years ago. One for bad reasons. Not that Stray's bad or anything. It was just like Stray won all of the indie awards because a game about a cat just like
Yeah.
it turns out 70% of all game media people have cats, and they're like,
Yeah.
damn, give that all the awards. And then Neon White was like video game cocaine, apparently, as its name implies. We haven't played video game cocaine in a while.
No.
Oh man, it's another
haven't played-
Annapurna joint.
It
I've
is.
played an FPS since Super Hot, maybe?
And it's also kind of a dating sim, I
Yeah.
think.
There's a lot going on.
It's a lot.
Okay.
It's also a speedrun game, very much so. Excellent. So
Interesting.
next up, we're riding the Neon White. Join us, y'all. Well, thank you, Pete. Thank you for this lovely pick and for
Yeah.
all the great discussion about Red Alert 3 and Tim Curry.
An interesting experience.
Thank you, Em.
Thank you. If we ever play a real-time strategy game again, I hope you two have fun because I will not be on the podcast anymore.
All right, I will take that into advisement. I don't think there's another RTS game that I would want to pick, so I think we're good.
Okay.
And thank you, dear listeners. Reminder, you can get in touch with the show at DeepListensPod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections, and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. You can support the show on Patreon at patreon.com/deeplistens. Until next time, peace.